Okay, so this hunter build cranks some stupid fast supers in the new raid specifically, and is also crazy for the fact you can spawn 6 extra orbs for your allies, so that they can as well even have better super uptime. Making this a build that can just amplify your teammates' damage while also doing very good damage yourself. Now before I get into the video, if you guys do enjoy the content, a like and sub would be greatly appreciated. It helps out the channel a lot. So the goal of this build is literally just to build supers as fast as possible, which then allows us to spawn a ton of orbs for our allies. Now in the new raid, this is especially easy since the bosses focus more on sustained damage instead of burst, so weapons like Outbreak and Thunderlord thrive really well here. Using one of those weapons alongside 3-shot Golden Gun and an exotic class item with Star Eater will lead to some of the fastest supers in the entire game. I mean, if you could not already tell from the footage here. Now you might be asking, why not Celestial Nighthawk? Well, 3-shot Golden Gun does not give you the increased super gains that roaming supers have while it's equipped, and it takes well over double the time even with 100 super to get it fully back. And that might lead you to then thinking, well, you could just do a swap loadout. And yeah, you're absolutely correct, but I'm going to show you why with some damage testing to prove it's really not that worth it. Now with Nighthawk, we are doing 18,950 damage with 200 super to Greg, but with times 6 Star Eater, we are dealing 17,917 damage with 200 super. This is a loss of only about 1,000 damage, while again also having the ability to generate 4 extra orbs for your teammates. And even without Star Eater, we are hitting for 16,296, and being able to do that around every 10 to 15 seconds in a boss fight is kind of crazy, while also being like a support orb generator. Okay, so to the actual build, first the stats, we're going to want to take at the very least 100 super. From there it is up to you if you want to spec into 200, or maybe try to get some more weapon stat. Personally, I like 200 super stat with triple surges, since specking into like 200 weapon with 100 super is pretty much impossible for me. And honestly, using font mods just to reach higher weapon stat is not worth it, since you'd be losing out on a 22% damage buff from triple surges, plus 200 super is a 45% damage buff to your Golden Gun. So that's a lot of damage. Onto the subclass, we're going to be on Prismatic using Marksman Golden Gun with Marksman Dodge, Threaded Spike, and a Grapple Grenade. You can really use whatever grenade you prefer with this, but like, Grapple Grenade's pretty dope, so. Now the aspects are going to be Stylus Executioner for neutral play and Ascension to give us and allies Amplified plus Jolt to enemies below us, which, by the way, applying this to a boss like the final boss in the new raid can actually help build up our super even faster. So for those who don't know, applying dot damage like Unravel, Jolt, and even our Transcendence grenades stacks up with your weapon damage for even more super gains. This is why having a full team of Outbreak is actually crazy for super uptime, since the nanites will all stack up together and deal constant damage, refunding so much super energy. Onto the fragments for the build, we're going to be using Fast of Hope, so every elemental buff applied to us gives us increased class ability energy. Fast of Dawn, so our melee hits can give us 5 seconds of Radiant. Then Fast of Courage to give us a 10% damage buff to our Golden Gun, meaning when using our melee we are granted both a 20% damage buff from Radiant and a 10% buff from Courage to then quickly dump out our super. Now the last fragment is going to be Fast of Purpose, so anytime we pick up an orb we get 5 seconds of ×1 restoration, because, well, what this build lacks is some serious survivability. Now for the weapons, personally I recommend using Outbreak the most. It is ammo efficient, for some reason cooks all the new bosses, builds insanely fast supers in group play, and it has a crazy interaction with the Tech Sec armor set. So the 2-piece makes your kinetic weapons do significantly increased damage against shields, overshields, vehicles, and constructs. And believe it or not, the final boss is considered a vehicle, meaning kinetic weapons can get this damage buff, and it's a massive one at that. It gives a passive 200% damage increase. So yeah, if you have some decent Tech Sec armor, I would definitely slap that on for final boss. Now the other 2 weapons you can really just use whatever you like. I'm using a rocket sidearm for ad clear and an eager edge sword for movement. You can of course replace Outbreak instead for Thunderlord if you want, but the super gains aren't as high and you do have to deal with needing to farm ammo, which is kind of a little annoying. Now I would recommend Lord of Wolves specifically when fighting the Wyvern, because his crit is just kind of annoying. Alongside that, switching your super to Silk Strike, call me crazy, but it cooks just ass pop key. Now for the artifact mods, we are taking Elemental Benevolence, so when we use Ascension near allies we get class ability energy back. Radiant Shrapnel, when dealing sustained damage, while Radiant, it causes the target to release solar projectiles that deal damage and scorch on impact, which yes can lead to ignitions, which is very nice. And the last one, Shield Crush. Since we will be pretty much always radiant or amplified, we will have constant grenade regen and damage bonus, which will be great for our Transcendence grenades. And yeah, that's pretty much all that can synergize with this build, so use whatever the else hell you want because it doesn't matter too much. Lastly, to the armor mods. On Helmet, we are using double super font mods for plus 40 super stat while we have armor charges, and a Radiant Light to give our allies an armor charge stack if they have a solar super, and 2 if it's a different element after we use our super. Now on arms, we're going to be using a kinetic loader, bolstering detonation to grant us class ability energy back on grenade hit, and focusing strike to give us class ability energy back on melee hit. Now on the chest piece, we're going to be taking a charged up for 4 max stacks of armor charge, and then really whatever resist mod you want. On the boots, triple kinetic surges to buff outbreaks damage as much as possible, and lastly the class item, a class font mod for plus 20 class stat, bomber, and time dilation, so each stack of armor charge can last an extra 5 seconds. So yeah, this build's just really goofy and fun, but like also really good since you're able to get 10 to 15 second supers in boss fights. I think that's kind of dumb. I really love how good it is for your allies as well. Like, let's say on final, you pop 5 goldies, hit all your crits, that is 30 orbs for your allies. Kind of insane. And you're also going to be dealing good damage yourself. I mean, it's almost like you're a support DPS role, which I think is just so cool. Well, I hope you guys enjoy this build. Probably one of my favorite bossing focus builds in a while because spamming supers equals fun to me, but yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next one. Peace.